I was called out on that. And, at the time you didn't like it. But it teaches you valuable lessons. And he was like a father to me, and those things, I wouldn't, if that happened maybe one time, and then, I would have this in my head. You got to be on time. You got to be on time. Leave now. Let's go. This can't happen again. You got to show, you know, Coach Sharkey that you're ready, that you're going to be a great coach and a great teacher. And this is how you do it. And so having a mentor, someone that can take you
You are
under their
listening to the Bridging Impact Podcast, transforming leaders on and off the court with host Coach Furtado. Without further ado, let's dive in. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Bridging Impact Podcast. Today's guest is a great one. Today, we had a great conversation before we hopped on here. We have Jeff Schmidt. Jeff Schmidt is the founder and coach of Schmidt Performance, is also a PE teacher at Polaris School in Colorado, and he's also been a high school varsity basketball coach in Fresno and Fort Collins with a ton of experience with just developing athletes and developing people as well. So welcome to the show, Jeff.
Thanks for having me, Justin. I appreciate it.
Of course. So let's dive right in. We always ask the easy question first, right? How has a game of basketball made an impact on your life?
Well, I think it started around middle school, where I was able to start playing on a regular basis. I had a group of friends who really loved basketball, and I really started picking up the game about that time. I wasn't any good. I struggled. I was an awkward kid. I had I think a size 11 or 12 shoe, and I was like a 5'7", kid in middle school. Middle school was rough, but I started picking the game up pretty serious then. Didn't have a lot of coaches until high school that really impacted me, but my love for the game started playing the game, and the playground in Fresno, California, and really just in the front yards of our friend's house, playing low rims and just getting used to the game and playing the game and building a love for it then. And that continued to build every year, until I got into high school, where I started to, grow into my own and start to really improve and pass kids who were better than me, just because I would practice every day, pick up a ball and really wanted to be great. And so, yeah, that was the thing that kind of pushed me. I know a lot of, when I first started playing, a lot of players were better, but I just kept working, and kept picking up a ball and just really, when you love something, it's not work, it was, for me, it was trying to be the best I can be and try to be a great player. And so, basketball, I could say, along with my friends, was such a huge impact in my life. It was everything. It was everything to me. And by the time I got into high school, I knew I wanted to coach and stay around the game somehow after I was done playing. And so it was just something, that was kind of instilled in me. I played a lot of sports growing up, but basketball is where I found my passion and my love. So, it just kind of took off. And, a lot of teachers and people say, you try to find something you love to do, and try to earn a living, make money doing it. And that was it. I was like, I'm playing basketball and I want to be around basketball. So coaching was kind of a way to stay around the game, and teaching was a way to stay around coaching. So it kind of all fell into place for me. And I knew that around high school, I wanted to be a teacher and a coach.
I love it. And I feel like one of the things that I learned, maybe we talked about this earlier, is about being a great coach is also requires you to be a great teacher, right? Be a great teacher of the game and teaching skills. And before we kind of dive into that side of our conversation, one of the things that I, kind of find interesting is, you talked about how in middle school you played a little bit, but you didn't pick it up too much until high school basketball, right? When you really started to pick up a basketball and train yourself and work with yourself. Can you talk about the importance of having like a long-term focus, like for the parents and even the coaches that are listening? I feel like sometimes we have this expectation that our seventh and eighth graders or our sixth graders and even younger need to be training every single day to be successful as a varsity athlete versus, maybe just keeping a long-term perspective and letting them like light their own fire.
Yeah, I think I see that too with kids and parents. I allow, and I have with my own kids. I allowed myself to figure that out. And I want my own kids to figure that out. And I think when parents push the envelope or force them to do things or, say, hey, go, start practicing, go and practice. I think that you're not, you don't have that love. I mean, if you love something, you're just going to do it anyway. So I think that's a big thing right now. I didn't think about college when I was a freshman or an eighth grader. I was just trying to pick up a ball and be great, the best player I could be. And so I think it's important to keep things in perspective and not overdo it. I think that's why we have a lot of burnout in youth sports is because of that notion that in order to get a scholarship, you got to work extra hard. Well, if the kid doesn't want to work, it's probably not going to work out for them, and they need to go at their own pace and run their own race and figure out what's best for them, and forcing kids to do things just isn't the way to go. And no matter what parents want or expect or think they should be doing, so I leave it up to the kid, and the kid wants to pick up a ball every day. That's amazing. If they don't, I just don't think pushing the envelope is going to help the kid in their development at all. So
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. I'm kind of curious, in terms of, the conversations that you have with your athletes and that you work with. Now that you're on kind of the training side of thing, I feel like you're kind of like right in the mix with their own development. And I'm curious, what conversations do you have with the players who may say that they have, I don't want to say, I guess, ambitious goals. Like, let's say they want to play college basketball, but sometimes their work ethic doesn't match. Is that a good time to potentially have some of those conversations of, hey, you know what, like you said you wanted this but you're not working towards this, do you really love it? Like, how do you have some of those conversations?
yeah, I think eventually things just kind of work out the way they are and the way they should. But I think some of those ambitious dreams kids have, you have to give it to them straight, and you have to let them know. Here are some things that you need to think about. Here are some things that you're going to have to do. Here's what others have done, and interviewing players who've got to that level, what they had to do to get there. You get it from the source, and I was able to play college basketball. And so I took the JC route, and then I played at Division II school in Monterey, Cal State Monterey Bay. But it takes work, and it's not easy. And if kids aren't, if their goals and their work ethic aren't matching, people, it's our job as coaches to address those things. Sometimes they don't want to hear from their parents, so we're the bridging gap. Isn't that what the podcast? We're that
Yeah.
bridge. We are that
Yeah.
bridge. Coaches are that bridge. I consider myself a coach. I don't consider myself a trainer. I don't. That's just, I think, a title. But we have to teach and coach kids to align their goals and their habits every day. And it's our job to remind them. It doesn't have to be harsh, but it can't be sugar coated, and it can't be something that we just let go. We have to continue to remind them what it's going to take. And I think they get to a certain age, and they either have it or they don't. They're either on that path or they're not. And I think um, at a young age, if you love the game and you want to be great and you have goals, you'll find your way to get there. And if they don't have the work ethic that matches, they're just going to fall off eventually. Or they're gonna burn out or whatever it may be. They're just not going to find that path. But and you see it all the time. There's kids who are on that path, and there's kids that are off that path, and they have to make those choices and those habits every day. Because if they don't, it just doesn't work out for them. So we're trying to keep them on that path as best we can. So we help them in whatever way we can.
Right. Yeah, aligning those goals and habits, right? Because if you say you want something, right, we have to have certain habits to reach those goals, right? And you talked about it. You played at the Division 2 level. It doesn't matter what level. You could be NAIA, JUCO, or D3. It doesn't matter, right? It's a lot of work. It's a commitment. It's a job. Every single one of my friends who I played with in high school who went and played college sports. I had a D3 friend all the way to, D1. It's a job, doesn't matter. So I think just really understanding that why and that connection. And I think, kind of you bringing up that really important point of, you kind of identify more as a coach. And I think I do as well because of I feel like the mentor role that maybe a coach kind of falls into or like kind of feels a little bit more, kind of like authentic versus like
Yeah.
a trainer sometimes just seems like what I just had a last conversation is just like transactional. I train you on these skills and that's it. Like coaching is more than that. And so can you talk about, you have your plenty of experience between teaching and coaching varsity and now training, right? But can you talk about the importance of mentoring when it comes to teaching and coaching and training?
Yeah, no, that's huge, and you're right on. The relationship and the mentoring part is what it's all about. And I got into this business teaching and coaching because I wanted to help young people, and so and not just on the basketball court, because you got to teach them things. The reason why we play sports, the reason why I want my own kids to play sports it's a microcosm of life. It's what we want our kids to be when they get older, when the ball stops bouncing. I mean, and that's what sports brings. It's 100%. It's reality and it's life, and all the lessons that are built around basketball. Um, I feel blessed to be able to help kids along that ride and just use basketball as that tool. Because I want my own kids to learn the lessons that sports brings us. In this case, basketball, and there's not a better way to teach life skills than through sports. It's a tremendous tool to use, and I use it every day within whether my students at school or my the kids that I work with. It's such a blessing to be able to do that. And as a head coach, when I was a head coach, we have these responsibilities, and if we don't take those responsibilities serious, and we're not mentors, we're not teaching these kids life lessons, we're falling short. I just don't consider people who don't do those things coaches. I don't know what you would say, what their title is, but it wouldn't be a coach. Um, Coaches and teachers are mentors, and they teach lessons through the game of basketball. You know, anyone can teach a kid. I can learn I know nothing about rugby. I can learn something about rugby tomorrow, and I could teach them a technical skill that doesn't consider I'm not considered a coach if I can do that. And I don't really consider myself a teacher if I can do that. I'm just passing along information. Teaching and coaching is more than that.
Yeah, they're basketball information passers or, basketball tacticians, right? That's what I guess what a coach, should not be, should not only fall into that role. And so when it comes to that, what do you think are the 3 to 5 most pivotal and important, kind of life lessons and principles that you want to teach your athletes to take beyond the game?
I think it starts with being a leader. If we can teach leadership skills, we need good leaders out there, people who can help and lead others. I think that's a huge one. Obviously, work ethic. I think if you have a endless work ethic, you can pretty much accomplish anything you want and put your mind to, and that's a huge tool. Obviously, um, being resilient and fighting through adversity. In this day and age, it's hard to find young people who can handle that and actually push forward and keep moving forward through tough times and things that don't go their way. And I see it all the time. Kids getting emotional and not being and being able and shutting down rather than fighting through something that's difficult and challenging and getting to the other side. Those are the things pretty much every day I'm trying to get kids to work on. And character, obviously integrity and character are a huge thing. Uh, you know, if I'm a good basketball player and I'm a good skilled basketball player, but I don't have character, what happens when that ball stops bouncing? What happens when I'm not playing anymore? I have my character still. I don't have those skills on basketball and in basketball. So, what do you want your life to turn into? I think, being having character and being having integrity are things that are going to, you know, lead you on into um, life outside of basketball, and those are the things sports teaches us almost every day when we're around young people, and we have an opportunity to carry that torch and help others, and we hope that they pick the things up that they can pass along to their kids or their family members or their friends or others they're around. So impacting others, it's kind of like this domino effect. And I had some tremendous coaches growing up in high school and in college, and people I learned from. And now it's my job. I feel like I'm at the age now, 46, that I am now mentoring younger people, young adults, and trying to get them to pass along that information that I learned along the way.
Absolutely. So, what do you think are some of those, kind of stories or pearls of wisdom that you learned from your coaches that you now kind of share with your athletes in terms of, like storytelling and like how did they challenge you to become leaders, and challenge your character and talk about work ethic, right? Like, I think one of the things that really works best with athletes that I've seen is right, kind of that storytelling aspect of it. Or I'm just curious how you learned those pearls of wisdom.
Well, trial and error,
Yep. Yep.
making a lot of mistakes, making a lot of
Yep.
mistakes as a young person, as a young coach, as a young teacher, but having someone that held me accountable. So, one of the things that younger people get fired for at jobs is just being on time. Being on time is a life skill that if you could learn at a young age, you have already more than put your foot in the door. So I learned at a young age. I had a coach by the name of Peter Sharkey, and he was an older coach, an old head from New York with an accent. And he could get away with murder, and everyone just laughs and smiles at him, and he could say and do what he wants. But there were times where I would come in, you know, 15 minutes before practice or 10 minutes before practice, and I was late. I was late. And and he let me know. He let me know there was no pulling punches. Like he let me know, and he would put me on blast, and it would be in front of people, it would be in front of the team, it didn't matter. Um if I wasn't being responsible, or I was not living up to my end of my maturity, my who I who I was and who I was trying to show younger people to be, I was called out on that. And at the time you didn't like it, but it teaches you valuable lessons. And he was like a father to me, and those things. I wasn't. I wouldn't. If that happened maybe one time, and then I would have this in my head. You got to be on time. You got to be on time. Leave now. Leave now. Let's go. This can't happen again. You got to show, you know, Coach Sharkey that you're ready. That you're going to be a great coach and a great teacher. And this is how you do it. And so, having a mentor, someone that can take you under their wing. And for me, when I first started teaching and coaching, it was Peter Sharkey, uh, and he's passed. He passed a couple years ago, but the lessons I learned from him, I still carry today. And again, I want to give those lessons that I've learned, and I want to pass those along to the next generation of teachers and coaches.
Absolutely. So for the young coaches like myself who are still kind of learning the new way, and I know we had this conversation where you can't shortcut experience, right? Like I can't go and be 46 years old overnight and have 20 years of coaching basketball under my
You
belt.
don't want to be
But
46, Justin. Come on.
yeah, but I want the wisdom, right? I
You
want
want
the
the wisdom.
wisdom.
Yeah, you
So
want the wisdom.
I want the wisdom. So if I can't shortcut that experience, but for you, and what kind of thoughts do you have around, you talked about how, making mistakes is an important part of your coaching journey. So like
Yep.
what mistakes did you learn as a young coach that you would kind of pass on and share and, keep in mind for the young coaches like myself?
Man, there is so many. And like you said, life experiences, you need them. You need to fail. You need to go through tough times and things that challenge you and get you to understand like this is how you've gained experience. This is how you become a wise coach. This is how you become a coach making good choices, good decisions, and good habits. Um, yeah, it's it's hard. It's hard, and I was thrown in the fire at a young age too. I started coaching when I was 18. I was coaching, teaching, um, um, you know, at a young in my 20s, early 20s, and so I there were so many times that I had so much to learn, but I was open to learning. I think that's huge. You have to be open to learning things. A lot of coaches have the answers, and if you can't look at things that way. You have to find someone that can help you along the way, to mentor you, to ask questions, to bounce things off of, so that when your name is called, you're ready. And that's kind of how it was for me. I was under his coach Sharkey's wing for several years, and when he stepped down, I was the head coach. So I had to put myself mentally in that state. I had to learn as much. I had to read as much. Whatever I thought I needed to do, go to coaching clinics, talk to other coaches, whatever it was, study. I needed to do that, and I needed to fast forward my development because my goal was to be a head coach as soon as possible. And so um, when you have someone helping you along the way, man, it is such a valuable thing. It is so valuable because I, even though I made a lot of mistakes and I learned a lot through the mistakes such as maybe a tactical thing, but it also could have been how I dealt with a parent. He was so good at those things, and I got to just be a fly on the wall everywhere where Coach Sharkey went. I was there. Off the court, on the court, in the classroom. I was studying him, and I was trying to learn as much as I could. I was drinking out of a fire hose for 2 straight years, and I knew I was going to get some of the things that he was so good at, but I also knew like the things that he wasn't good at, I might have been pretty good at. So I was trying to mesh these things together, along with what I learned from my high school coaches, from college coaches, and people I looked up to. You kind of start building your own philosophy. You put all these things together, and you figure out what works for you as a person, and you try to apply them. But you go in, thinking you know everything, or you think that you're ready, and you're never ready. It doesn't matter. You're just never ready. You just know you got to go. It's time. It's time to mess up, or it's time to make good decisions. It's time to just learn and start your own journey. So yeah,
Right.
mentors are huge in that. And yeah, no matter how well you're mentored, you're going to be in situations where you have to make tough choices, tough decisions, and you're going to mess up, and it's all part of it. It's all part of the ride, And as long as you understand that and you move on, learn from it, you're going to end up being a really good teacher and a really good coach.
100%. And I think I have a couple of things on that. I think one of the things, I heard you talking, I heard, kind of a quote recently is the best artists are thieves. And so you're kind of, what I hear in that those 2 years, right? You were just stealing everything, kind of just totally being a student of what he was doing. And, this was in context. I was at a shooting college, right? And they were saying, like, if you see a good shooter this weekend, watch their approach, watch what they do at the beginning, right? So if you want to be like Curry, right? Watch what he does. Most people don't practice like Curry. Curry is like moves off the basketball. He doesn't, want to dance with the basketball. That's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
Went down that rabbit hole. But when it comes to, for the parents that are listening to this conversation, what do you think was the biggest challenge that you had as a head coach, and even now, right? You're still training, you're still working with athletes, still working with parents, like, just sharing a little bit. My philosophy is to work with parents for sure.
Mm.
And I also want my athletes to be able to advocate for themselves. Like, I don't want parents coming to ask me about playtime.
Right.
I want to teach the athletes basically. To me, I'm going to teach it as I want them to ask them for a raise for themselves, right? Like
Right.
if you're asking for their raise, right? What happens when they're really trying to make a raise and make more money? Are they, they can't call you. So
Right.
that's a little bit in terms of my philosophy, just to hand it over to you and, talk a little bit about your experience and some of the challenges that you faced as a head coach. What do you wish that parents maybe understood more?
You know that we have the kids' best interest, but we also have a team of 12 or 14 or whatever it is that we have to
Right.
manage and we have to think about as well. There's individuals and then there's the team, and no individual is bigger than the team. But I tried to do my best as a head coach to lay the foundation up front of how you can approach me, how you can talk to me, what I want your son to do, and these are the steps that it's going to go through. There's a process, and it starts and ends with your son or daughter, um, and we want them to advocate for themselves. We want them to speak, communicate. We want them to get out of their comfort zone and learn how to talk to people and share their thoughts, and just have conversations, whether they're good, easy conversations or they're hard conversations. Um, we can't always protect our kids. There's going to be a time where I cannot protect my kids anymore. My kids are going to have to go through things the hard way. I understand that. I think I have perspective being a teacher and a coach for as long as I've been. But you know, let them go. Let them go. They're going to be fine if you've raised them and you have a good leader and a coach. Um, Things are going to happen in a positive way, and that it might not always be what they want, uh, and it might not always be what the parent wants. But I think understanding this is the process of your child going from boy or girl to man or woman, and this is just kind of the transition in life that happens. Um, I always say, as long as there is no wrongdoing or things that of that nature in the program, or with a coach or or a player, um, they should be able to advocate for themselves, sit down with a coach, have a conversation, a tough conversation, a truthful conversation, what's in the best interest of the player, but over that is what's in the best interest of the team. Coaches don't want to lose games. Coaches aren't in it to lose games. They got to look out for their team, what's best for their team, and it may not always be what's best for Johnny and Jill. So, but at the end of the day, we have compassion. We want them to succeed. We want them to feel part of the team, and so that comes with it as well. But I think if parents, if they can support their child, by doing things the right way, not overtaking their child, not trying to step in and fix the problem always, or go right after a coach. I've had that. I've had it happen. I've been physically assaulted, verbally assaulted. I've had it all. I've had emails from anonymous sources. I've had text messages from anonymous phones, burner phones. It's crazy. It can be a little nuts out there, and so we just need to know that, this isn't going to last forever, and we need to enjoy it. Parents need to enjoy it, because before they know it, it's over, and their career's over, um, and now your son or daughter's moving on with their life. Basketball's no longer a part of it. So, but the lessons they learn can impact them forever. And if they have bad experiences with you as a parent, or that communication breakdown, that can also carry over into their everyday life after basketball. So we want our kids to succeed, and the best way to do that is let them fail, let them be an advocate for themselves, let them figure it out.
I mean, I think that's all really good wisdom in terms of,
It doesn't
you
happen all
know,
the
yeah, it doesn't happen. And so one of the things I was going to talk about it, and I listened to, right. I'm a younger coach, right? So I'm still kind of new to the world. I haven't probably had as many of the experiences quite as you're talking about, but you're still in the game, right? You're still working with athletes, you're still teaching, and coaching. And I think one of the questions that I have is like, for those that maybe are a bit more experienced than me that are listening and maybe facing, similar things to you and may need a reminder of like the why, right? Because I think a lot of times, like I hear, like not necessarily in my coaching community, but I hear about, some of the things that you just talked about and, coaches walking away, like good coaches walking away
Yeah.
because of experiences like this. Like, what is that reminder that, you want to give potentially to some coaches out there for them to, make sure that they, you know, do keep impacting kids, even beyond some of these situations that are, you know, obviously not ideal.
Yeah, it's a calling for me, and when I say it's a calling, I knew this is what I really feel like this is what I was born to do. And so I knew when I stepped down as a head coach, I needed to stay around the game. I knew I wanted to stay around the game and still impact kids. And so when I started my the basketball training business, I wasn't sure how that was gonna work. Um, but I knew if I had my mission, that everything was kind of in alignment. I knew I could still impact kids and help kids. And so, we just try to help lead and develop kids. That's kind of our mission, is to lead and develop kids to be the best versions of themselves on and off the court. That is my why. That is our mission, Schmidt Performance. And so, as long as you keep that at the forefront of everything you do, the decisions you make are based around that. How you're going to help others are based around that. You'll know that you're still doing it for the right reasons. And you got to coaches have to take care of themselves too, though. It is a highly competitive, intense, and parents. It's a real thing. Parents are harder to deal with, and you have to lay the foundation, and you have to stick to what you feel like your work is. And and then really that's my work. And I say work, I think um you know my my family comes first to me, and that's kind of one of the reasons I stepped away as being a head coach, because I wanted to be around my family, my boys, and be a father, be a father that's there for their games, that raises good boys into men, and that's really that's my ultimate goal in life. So that comes first, but to impact them and develop them in a way that they can you know be the best versions of themselves on and off the court.
Yeah, 100%. It's that why, it's that calling, it's that greater kind of piece that kind of, overcome some of those challenges that you talked about. And, even though, you may not be a head varsity coach, you're still impacting kids and giving back to the game beyond it.
Yeah,
And talking about and keeping, lead and develop kids on and off the court, right? For us, beyond the game, we want to impact kids on and off the court as well and teach those leadership skills. And, that's what's going to ripple effect. That's what's going to take them so much further than just a game of basketball, kind of like, to hopefully where they can, maybe hop on a podcast with other people, whether it's, they're talking hoops or they're talking, about sustainability or engineering or whatever it is, because we can help them tap in and help them discover who they are. And so I
that's right.
think one of the things that, we touched on here is helping them find that calling. I'm just curious how you have conversations with your athletes to help them kind of lead themselves off the court.
Yeah, I think my perspective. I have a holistic approach to it. Being a teacher for 20 years, being a coach for over 20 years. Having and having the experience as a head coach, being a head coach. I feel like I have a real impact with the clients that I work with. And so, when you're a head coach, you got a whole program to worry about. You got, anywhere between 40 and 60, 70 kids you got to worry about. And in my case, I don't have as many. I can get a little bit deeper in things and help them more and see them more often, have more conversations with them. and really get to pinpoint things they really can work on. Um, and so we put them through scenarios and situations in our workouts. I have guys that help me, and so we do small group workouts. I might have them be a leader, and have a leadership role in that workout, and give them some extra responsibility. We might talk about some certain things. I might send them an article to read. I might give them a book to read, and we do a book study. There's a lot of ways you can impact learning, and I feel like I have a pretty good relationship with a lot of the clients that I work with, and we can dig a little deeper into some are natural leaders. Some need a lot of work in that area, and not everyone's going to be, you know, the the leader in the of a corporation one day or anything like that, but someone who can, to me, a leader is someone who can self-start. You don't need, and they don't have to be a verbal leader. They can lead by example. There's a lot of ways to lead, and it doesn't have to be what we think leadership is like, everyone listen to me. I what I say, goes. It's not like that. Leaders actually, the good ones, if you read a lot of books and you talk to a lot of good leaders, they empower others, and they make others around them better. That is, to me, the number one form of showing leadership is empowering the people around you, and making sure uh, that people get better when they're around you. To me, that's my definition of a good leader. And that could be a lot of different ways. There's a lot of different ways to do that. But you got to take your personality, and you got to be yourself, and then you go from there. And so you can't force someone who doesn't talk very much to all of a sudden be the loudest person in the gym. It's not how it works. You're not going to win that battle, and then you're going to get frustrated. Oh, this person's not a leader. They're not doing exactly what I want them to do. Well, you got to meet them where they're at, and you got to work with them, and you got to know who you're working with. That's where relationships come in, and so those are huge things.
100%. No, and you kind of took the words right out of my mouth. I think leadership is just you have to be able to lead yourself first, right? Like at the end of the day, you have to know who you are, right? Know what are my strengths and how can I, like you said, how can I provide value to this team that I'm on? How can I provide value to the classroom that I'm in, right? Leaders provide value. They, kind of like rise all tides
Yep.
in their own strengths, in their own ways. Some people are lead by example, like, right? Like you're a little bit quieter. I just had a conversation with someone yesterday. He's very chill, right? But I was like, hey, I need you to have conversations on defense, right? I need you to talk here and there. And then
Mm-hmm.
off the court, you can be who you are. I'm not asking you to be a loud leader. I'm asking you, right? You're one of our better players, to just communicate, when it needs to be, right? And communication is a skill. So I just ask you to continue to work on that. And he's like, yes, coach. And, I kind of heard him. It's quiet, right? But if you practice skill over and over again, you start to, be a little bit more confident with it. And that's the
Yep.
other thing too, is right. You can help them become more confident in the way they lead themselves, because that's a big thing, right? In high school, right? You want to just fit in, and, you want to be cool. And sometimes doing some of those things that coach asks, like talking on defense or giving high fives, may not seem cool. But if you develop that relationship, you help them develop those leadership skills that are kind of beyond, help them tap into that why a little bit more. It goes beyond, just, oh, coach is making me, do high fives. It's like, no, I'm really helping, bring up my team. And as we kind of enter, the last 2 minutes of this conversation, I just really want to know, when it comes to, for the parents and coaches that are listening, if you could boil down kind of our conversation into like reflection questions, like what questions would you ask the people that are listening to help them understand, how can I be a better leader for my athletes and help them become better leaders?
Yeah, well, it starts with yourself. You creating the environment, building the relationships with your team and the people around you. It starts there, and then from there you can start to empower others, and unleash their power, and find what their power is, and unleash it, and let them go, and let them feel like they're safe to do that, and you encourage them to do that. And that's when you kids start and people start finding their voice, their power, and their leadership, with when those things are all in place. So that's what I would say. You got to work on you as the leader first, and how you can impact and help others, because everyone's different. You're going to work with so many different people in your lifetime, and how you treat them, how you build that relationship with them, and then once you get to know them at another level, a higher level, and not just in the workplace, but outside of the workplace, things like that. Then you can start to figure out, okay, this person, they have potential in this area, or I think, I just need to build confidence in them to unleash their power, to find what they're great at, and let them go. And you sit back and you let them go, and you sit back and let them do their thing, and that's when you start to get ownership. You start to people start to have that ownership, and they get the buy-in, and now your culture is really thriving because they feel like they can do what they need to do, and be themselves, and really, and when you promote that, and you get others to understand, hey, I'm here for you, and this is, I want you to do this. You give them power, and once they have that, that's uh, it's a really good thing. It's a really strong thing, and it galvanizes everybody together, which is really cool. And you see all the best corporations, the best teams, they have that within their organization for sure.
Yeah, 100%. That empowerment piece is so incredibly crucial to, giving those skills, getting that buy-in for whichever team you're on, right? Whether it's, a team of staff at a school, or it's a team it's a basketball team. You're trying to win games, right? There, people have to feel like some sort of ownership, right? And so you have to kind of give them some of those decision making and agency just to be who they are. Obviously, there's parameters, there's principles to follow, and that's probably a whole nother episode. Um, but with that, kind of giving that empowerment is so important. So where can people, for you just shared, so much wisdom. Where can people find and connect with you if they want to continue the conversation or learn more about Schmidt Performance?
They can I got a website, schmidtperformance.org. They can go to my email, which is schmidtperformance@outlook.com. We're also Schmidt Performance on Instagram, Twitter. We're on all the social media outlets. You can reach out anytime, and I'd love to help in any way I can. Absolutely.
I love it. Thank you so much for your time and sharing all your wisdom, Jeff.
Thank you, Justin. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Bridging Impact Podcast. We'd love it if you would like, subscribe, leave a comment and a review on whatever platform you're on. It's the best way to help us grow. We appreciate you for doing that. We'll shout you out on social media. I'd also love if you connected with me on social media. Let me know your thoughts. And this is why I do it. I want to share knowledge and wisdom from experienced leaders to people like yourself and myself, so we can have this dialogue and move forward, make an impact on the world. So stay tuned, stay subscribed. Cheers.